And today's insight is from Jen Hinds, the Managing Director of 1Networking. Over to you, Jen.
Thank you very much, Tony. Yes, indeed it is. So I'm going to spend, let me just set my timer off. There we go. I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes talking about networking, but through the beautiful, wonderful analogy of rowing. I did this at a meeting recently, and I know at least one of you were there, so my apologies. But hopefully you'll get something new for this. So you may or may not have picked up that I am a rower, and it is thanks to networking that I am a rower. And I started rowing back in 2015. And when I first started to row, I would turn up super excited. I absolutely loved it. I would get in a boat. I would have so much fun. I got on well with people I rowed with. I rowed with different people every single week. We had loads of fun. But our boat didn't go very fast, and we certainly didn't win any races. But then the longer I rowed, the better I got. So then I got put into a fixed crew, a set crew, which meant that I trained with the same people every single week. We got to know, like, and trust each other very quickly. We got to row much, much better together. We had even more fun because we knew each other. But we started to make the boat go so much faster. And guess what? We started to win races. In fact, I won one yesterday. Not yesterday, that's Monday. Sunday in Trentham. Yeah, woohoo! So yeah, that's when we started to win races. And that's what 1Networking is. 1Networking is like a fixed crew, because we meet with the same people, plus, of course, some lovely visitors, which is always wonderful. But we meet with the same crew every single week. And that's how we very much more quickly get to know, like, and trust each other. All these people that meet here every week on a Tuesday love each other and think each other's great. They have loads of fun, but that's when business starts to really work. And that's what it's all about. And there are so many analogies between rowing and networking and business in general. And I'm just going to share 4 of them today, maybe 5 if I've got time, but I probably won't because I tend to waffle. So I'm going to focus on 4. The first one is called competing for your seat. So in business, we all have our businesses. We've got a wonderful mix of businesses here today. And I notice there's loads of opportunities for collaboration. So we must definitely follow up on those. But we all have our businesses. Today in this meeting, we have our seat that we hold, but we cannot assume that just because we're in business in a certain sector, or just because we're in a networking group in a particular sector, that we are guaranteed to get business, because that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Just like in a rowing boat, just because I row, I can't assume that I will get put into a seat in a boat. I have to work for that. I have to work for that when I'm in the boat. I have to be committed. I have to engage. I have to put all my effort to make that boat go as fast as we can, or to make it go as well, as balanced as it can. But more importantly than that, outside of the boat, I have to really look after myself. I have to eat properly. I have to eat the right foods. I have to eat the right amount of food. I have to sleep. I have to exercise. I have to do weights training. I have to do extra cardio training. All of that helps. It doesn't guarantee my place in the seat, but it helps me be more likely to be chosen for the seat that I want to have. And it's the same in business. Just by setting up a business, just by writing that we are a VA, a proofreader, a printer, a graphic designer, doesn't mean that we're just going to get all the business in that sector. We have to work for it. So we have to turn up to networking meetings, whether it's this one or whether it's a different one. We have to turn up. We have to engage. So engaging on Zoom is sometimes more difficult than engaging in a 3-dimensional world, but it is still possible. We can engage in the chat. We can smile. We can put thumbs up. We can gesture. Exactly, as beautifully demonstrated by Keith there. Just be careful of your gesturing, Keith. I know what you're like. So engaging in the meeting is really important, but it's also about what we do between the meetings. For example, being a member of a networking organisation, it's not just about 90 minutes a week. It's about what we do. It's about thinking about each other. In 1Networking, we have a beautiful system called the Rio system, which I'm not going to talk about because Keith is going to talk about that later. But that is there to simplify it for us, so that we can work together outside of the meeting to help build each other's businesses. And that's how we are far more guaranteed to get the seat in your virtual business boat, basically. So compete for your seat. It's what you do in the meeting, but it's also what you do between meetings, just like it's what you do in the boat, just as well as what you do between water sessions. So number 1, think about how you compete for your seat. What do you do that makes you more likely to be chosen than the next person? Secondly, follow the stream. When I first started racing, which was quite soon after I started rowing actually, nobody told me that taking what looked like the fastest route on a river. So more often than not, I raced on a lake actually on Sunday, but more often than not, I race on a river. And rivers tend not to be straight; they tend to be quite bendy. And I thought, well, the quickest way around a bend is on the inside, and that will get me to the finish line quicker. But no, it was only after a race once, which we didn't win, surprisingly, that my coach said to me, "What did you do? Hogging the insides of the bends? Everybody knows the fastest part of the river is in the middle." I didn't know. I do now, and I bear that in mind all the time. But again, the same in business. We often want, of course, it's natural, fast results. We want to turn up at a networking event and leave that day with loads of business, but that isn't how it works, because there's no fast route. It's all about building relationships. It's about finding the fastest part of the river. Fastest part of the stream, usually on a river, is the middle. The fastest way to get business is by spending the time building relationships, getting to know people, getting people to like you, getting people to know you and understand you, so that then they're confident enough to be able to go out and find all the people. Many of us here today have quite rightly said, I'm looking for people that might need this, etc., etc. But people are far more likely to have confidence to go out and find those people if they've got to know, like, and trust you. So there are no corners cutting. If you go to a networking event and just chuck business cards, whether it's virtual or real, everybody, the chances of getting business back are very slim. So don't try and cut the corners. Follow the stream and do it the proper way, and that is the fastest way to get business, just like it's the fastest way to win a rowing race. Thirdly, there are 4 parts of a rowing stroke. I won't go into them all, but there's the 2 main parts are when your oars are in the water and you're pushing against the water to propel yourself. And then there's the bit where you come back up the slide. I do sliding seat rowing. There's different kinds of rowing. So it's like a rowing machine in the gym. It has a sliding seat. So you take you put the effort in, you take the drive, and then you come up the slide where your oars aren't in the water and you're actually going against the direction of the boat. That's known as the recovery. Now, if you absolutely slam it up the recovery, you're actually going against the direction of the boat. So you're actually like putting the brakes on in the boat. So we always say, don't rush the recovery in rowing. And that is so important. And it's so important in life as well as business, because being in business is quite hard. Put your hand up if you think that being in business can be quite hard. It really is. It can be stressful. It can be hard. It can take up, somebody once said, being in business is great. You can choose which 20 hours a day you work. And sometimes it is like that. You're just working flat out all the time. It's on your time, but it's flat out all the time. And it's so important for us to take time to recover as well. Really important to take time out. I feel so lucky that I have discovered rowing, because as soon as I get in a rowing boat, push off the landing stage, and no matter what's gone on in my business or anything else is irrelevant for that couple of hours that I'm on the river, because all I can think about is technique, is how I'm making the boat move, how the boat feels. So I feel so blessed that I have that, and I do that so often during the week. But it's really important, and that's my recovery time. Really important as business owners to find your recovery time. So don't rush the recovery. And the 4th and final one is, when I first probably knew about rowing, it was watching the Olympics. And I remember one particular race, can't remember which Olympics it was, but Steve Redgrave was still rowing, and he rowed his race. He won, naturally, because he won so many goals. And at the end of the race, him and his crew they virtually collapsed in the boat, and they looked ill. They looked absolutely exhausted. They looked in pain. And I thought, who on earth would choose to do something that clearly hurt so much and made them so uncomfortable at the end? And I just thought they were bonkers. Many years later, I signed up to the Learn to Row course, and I'm that person. I'm not suggesting by any stretch I row anything like as fast as Steve Redgrave, obviously, but for me, I am still pushing myself that much in every race that I do. I push myself so much so that at the end I'm gasping for breath. It does hurt a bit. It feels great. There's nothing like that feeling. I love it. But anyone looking at me would think, oh my God, that she's about to die. Why does she do that? But you do that. And in a race, the race I did on Sunday rather was 750 meters, so it was a sprint. So you're doing that sprint, you put everything into it, then you get towards the end and it looks like your opposition is just catching up for you, and then somebody will call, give us a power for 10, which means the next 10 strokes you have to put even more effort into it, and there's no way you're putting 110% effort in already, but somebody shouts power for 10, and do you know what, because you're there, you're part of a crew, you're part of a team, you're not just doing it on your own, you look to your crew and you can dig deep and find that extra 10 strokes. And that is the same in business. If you're part of a crew, which we are here today, and our regular teams that meet weekly, you're part of a crew, and you know that if you need to dig deep and find that extra 10 powerful strokes to either get you out of a down patch in business or to help you achieve that goal that you need to achieve, you always can, because you ask your crew, you don't do it on your own, you ask your crew, your fellow networkers, can you give me a hand to get me where I need to be? And it happens. The amount of times I hear people tell me stories of how that has helped them being part of a set networking group like this, that you've always got that extra capacity so long as you ask your crew or your squad. The wonderful thing with 1Networking is you're not just part of the meeting that you're part of, that you join, you're also part of the whole network, and we have events that you can call your squad as well. So I like the analogy of you have your crew and your squad. So folks, my time was up about a minute ago. Don't forget all the things you need to do to compete for your seat. Don't assume that you're going to get business. We have to all put the effort in. Don't look for the shortcuts. Find the fastest part of the stream isn't always the shortest way around, but it's the one that will get you to the winning post quicker. Don't rush your recovery. That's really important. And know that if you're part of a good team, you will always be able to dig deep and find an extra power for 10. That's me done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jen. We do have time for a couple of questions if anybody's got one. MJ.
Yeah. So Jen, finding the right team is a key for the networking, or I would say that a power group. But what happens is that you meet many people, but for example, in a networking event, you won't find, all of the team members just like who you are looking for. So how do you think, because I don't believe in that. For example, if I'm finding a right person, not necessarily that person should be of a construction industry part. It can be from any industry. It's those personal traits that person is willing to actually contribute and is also outgoing, meeting people and everything. How do you identify that this person is the right person for me to connect and, and he will be able to make me the part of the power group?
So what I would say to that is it's the know, like, trust thing, which people talk about all the time. That's certainly not something we've invented, but I think irrespective of what industry the people are in. So let's take this group of people here today, irrespective of the people here, and there's nobody else that we know of that's specifically in the building industry, but we all know people, whether we're super connected or not. We all know people. We all have, well, those, if we have LinkedIn profile, we potentially have 50 connections, 500 connections, 5,000 connections, and within our networks, there will be people that are absolutely relevant to you. We may not necessarily know it. We might know it because it might be the person that lives next door to me. We might not know it because it might be just somebody that I've connected with. But once we have spent the time getting to know, like, and trust each other, already you exude a positive energy in this meeting, MJ, and it's lovely to have you here. So already I feel a connection, because I think, that's somebody I would really like to get to know, because you've done all the things I said. You've smiled, you've engaged, etc. So already I feel there's a connection there. So the longer that we're together, that people are together, you get to know the person and you get to really understand the person's business. So then we obviously, if it was my next door neighbor that was a great connection with you, that'd be much quicker. And I think it's a no-brainer. I will absolutely connect them with MJ. But even if I didn't know somebody, it's a case of, right, MJ's brilliant. I really like her. We get on well. She's always positive. So I'm going to actually go out on my LinkedIn profile. I'm going to search for the, architect, building contractor or whatever, and I will, we talked about not cutting corners. It's about putting the effort in, but I would put the effort in because I've got to know, like, and trust you. I'll put the effort in to go out and proactively find somebody that's a good connection with you, and then just message them. So I think it's not necessarily looking for the specific industries to connect with. It's connecting with good networkers. If you're connected with a good networker and you build that relationship, they will go out and proactively find somebody that's a good connection with you. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's certainly how I look at it. So it's not the people in the room, it's who they're connected with and how good they are at following up with that. Does that make sense?